We're going to start today with Aaron McGruder, creator of the Boondocks. And I need you to stick with me today. I'm going to connect a lot of dots, paint a pretty bleak picture, but that talks about what's going on in the world and how the great replacement theory, whatever you want to call it, how it applies to the sports world. Stick with me, but we're going to start with Aaron McGruder, the creator of the Boondocks. He had something provocative, powerful, accurate, politically incorrect to say, and we'll start there, and eventually I'm going to tie all these dots, connect all these dots, and you'll understand why I'm starting with Aaron McGruder. Let's start there.
I really want you guys to understand that time is running out. And a lot of black people say that, but for real. Part of why the civil rights movement has been so successful, and part of why those who have come after in terms of our leadership have been able to maintain a presence, is that black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people or not hating black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they can be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all, because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know? How would they know you're not a damn fool?
That is a bold, provocative proclamation. And it's said with love by Aaron McGruder. It coincides, it has great synergy with my own beliefs and the conversation we try to have here every day on Fearless, on this show. And this show I'm about to unpack today, this is for everybody. Again, I know we're starting out with Aaron McGruder and talking about black people and talking about our moral currency. But what I'm going to unpack today about this great replacement theory, and look, black people are essential to it. But this message today is for everybody. If you're a sports fan and you try to avoid politics, this conversation is going to be based solely in sports. But I'm going to explain to you how what's going on in the sports world explains everything that's going on in the political world and in the real world and in the rest of society, and why we need to heed the message. All of us. We're running out of time. Black, white, brown, yellow. We're running out of time. Those of us that value our American citizenship, those of us that value American values, traditional American values, we're running out of time. I'm going to use sports to explain all of that today. Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Thank you so much for joining me today. Happy Wednesday to you and yours. I'm sorry, happy Thursday to you and yours. I screwed up. The NFL, the National Football League, is kicking off tonight. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens. It is football season. And we're going to use football as our jumping off point for a major conversation. Just going to be me today. We're going to be done in time for you to run over and watch the Chiefs and the Ravens. I certainly am. I'm not going to miss it. And so that's why there's no Steve Kim today, because it's going to take me some time to walk you through this conversation. I want to remind you all that starting Monday, this show will be live in the morning, 10 a.m. Central Time. Myself, Steve Kim, we're moving on Monday to live in the mornings. Be there with us. You won't want to miss it. We'll continue these great, awesome conversations. Be there with us. Also want to thank you all that are Blaze TV subscribers. Continue to do that, because the extra fearless content that I know many of you enjoy as Blaze TV subscribers, it will continue there. And that's why you need to be a subscriber if you want to hear me talk about, me and Shamika keep taping these conversations about all kinds of interesting things that are going on in the political world. Go to blazetv.com/fearless, use the promo code fearless, and you can save $20 on your yearly subscription to that. Let's get into today's fire starter and conversation. And I do want to thank our friends at First Cup Coffee. Today's episode is brought to you by First Cup Coffee, a Christian-owned Patriot coffee company that stands for core values, family, and building community across the nation. First Cup's freshly roasted beans are delivered in grain or whole bean pods, bulk. Go to firstcup.com and use the promo code fearless. Save an additional 10% on your order. And if you subscribe, you can save another 10% for the life of your subscription. You guys ready? Buckle up, put your thinking caps on, get ready. I'm going to unpack something as we prepare ourselves to sit and watch and enjoy the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. I want to put what's going on in the sports world in total perspective, in context, because the whole great replacement that's talked about in news cycles and in the political world, it applies to the sports world. You can see it in the National Football League. Yesterday, James O'Keefe and his organization released a video. You know, they do these fake dates and interview people in high positions and get them in real conversations and find out what they really think. Well, they did it to the Washington Commanders and the National Football League. Someone went out on a date with a Washington Commanders vice president of digital content. I think the Commanders guy's name is Raul Intine. And he's talking to someone he thinks he's out on a date with. I think met him on an app. The person happens to be recording it and provoking or putting Raul in position to say what he really thinks about the National Football League. Let's play the clip.
Okay, just walk me through again your breakdown, your description of the Commanders players.
Over 50% of our roster, right, is either white religious and God says the gays in their interpretation. I don't buy into any of that, but that's the facts. Another big chunk is very low-income African-American that comes from a community that is inherently very homophobic. But that doesn't mean they want to go on record with a video saying come out to Pride.
Why not?
There's some that are like dumb as all hell, and there are others that are very smart. I think there's also a sad but true reality that like some start smart and they get hit in the head so much that they don't stay smart.
I hate to say it, athletes and especially NFL players who get their head knocked around a bunch of times, they're more susceptible to stupid conspiracy theories. Most of the fans, I would say, are high school educated alcoholics.
Most NFL fans are high school educated alcoholics?
Yeah.
Really?
With a violent, I mean, there's fights in the stands all the time. Like, it is
So they're like lower class people.
I hate to use that term. I would just say mouth breathers.
That's not even bad.
I know, it's way worse.
So how do you explain the fact that the NFL is very much into like social justice?
It's performative.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's not done out of the goodness of their heart, morality. It's done because George Floyd changed the game. I mean that the social justice efforts are a performance for the sake of public perception and not because they want to actually push progress.
To get support from liberals.
No, I don't. I think it's to make as much money as possible. I think the NFL cares about the bottom line, like any corporation, above all else. And they don't need to really pinch pennies because they make so much revenue. Therefore, they can faux prioritize DEI for the sake of good publicity.
Why do you think there's not much hope to sell right
Because
now?
the stadium sucked. We had like pipes leaking sewage on our fans in the middle of a game. And I have to put out a social post saying like, it wasn't sewage water, we promised. That is state-run media.
I think what has happened to this man, I have some sympathy for. He's being set up, he's being played, he's being secretly recorded. This isn't me criticizing James O'Keefe and his organization. It's me just being real. I have sympathy that the guy thinks he's out on some date and he's actually being set up and he's saying what he really thinks. I have some sympathy for him. I have no sympathy for the National Football League or the Washington Commanders. The National Football League, in its effort to be in alignment with the World Economic Forum, to be in alignment with the globalist movement and the globalist DEI agenda. And again, I don't know the ethnicity of this Raul Inting or whatever. He could be white, could be mixed with something else, but I do know what he's mixed with. Liberalism. I know what he's mixed with. He doesn't really love football or football culture. And everybody in the National Football League has bought into the myth, the lie that, hey, diversity is our strength. And let's start bringing in people to our organization in high places who don't share our values. Because diversity is our strength and our values are evil. And so we must allow people with different agendas, different worldviews, different passions into our organization at high levels. Look, can you control all of your employees and what they think? No, and nor should you. But when you start making people vice presidents of content, give them VP titles and VP salaries, put them in leadership positions, and you start putting people who hate Jerry Jones and have no respect for Jerry Jones, who hate the typical football fan, they're mouth breathers and idiots, who think somewhat justifiably that all the players are stupid and idiots. When you start bringing in people that don't revere football, all under the guise of, hey, this is diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we have to allow people that just see this as an opportunity to make money and to be associated with a brand that they didn't help build. They're piggybacking off of Dick Butkus and Jim Brown and George Halas and Tom Landry and Roger Staubach and Mike Singletary and Walter Payton. Hey, I want to be a part of that. There's money there. There's attention there. I want to be a part of that. And the NFL has thrown out the welcome mat. Bring me your liberal. Bring me your emasculated. Bring me people who don't know or care anything about football, and we will empower them and let them bring in all of their agendas. And let's empower them. If gay people want to turn this league into a gay league or a league that's more gay friendly, bring them in. This is what we need to do. Even though the people that built this league were conservative Christians, I've explained to you all countless times who organized sports. And I'm going all the way back to the 1800s, early 1900s. Who organized sports? Young Men's Christian Association. That's who organized it, Christians. Sports have been a Christian tradition. Bring me your atheists. Bring me your Muslims. Bring me people that hate, revile Jesus Christ. Bring them in. They had nothing to do with building this, but bring them in. And let's make their worldview the driving force of the National Football League, because we want to be diverse. And so now you have people in high positions who hate everything that the NFL stands for and wants to remake it in their image. What's that look like? What's that taste like? What does that feel like? Let's play the Football is for Everyone NFL promo, SOT number 4. What did any of that have to do with the people who made football what it is today, the cash cow that it is today? This is an overthrow of a culture and a set of values that made the NFL great. And so the NFL, that's how Raul, whatever his name is, ends up a VP of content in the National Football League. Because Roger Goodell and these other idiots don't think there's anything special about the culture and the values that made the NFL great. Someone's willing to cut a check. The World Economic Forum is offering out all of these little prizes and gifts if you invite people that don't think like you, don't share your values, hate you. If you invite them to the table to help them run your organization that other people built with a completely different set of values, we got brownie points and bonus points and tax benefits and PPP loans and everything else to hand out. And so the NFL has sold out. And the players, the league, they're all being replaced. The people within the organizations that help make it great, they're being replaced by people that hate football. That's the great replacement situation going on in the National Football League. The people with traditional American values are being replaced. Some of what this Raul N-Teen said, I actually agree with. But ain't no way he should be a vice president in the National Football League. He's part of the overthrow of football. The exact same thing is happening in basketball. Football's being emasculated and gayed up. The National Basketball Association is bought into the globalism myth, dream, set of values. And guess who is being replaced there? That's why I started with Aaron Magruder. The Black American is being replaced in the NBA, and everybody can see it. I saw there's a great podcaster named Dreamers Pro. and I'm sorry for not being able to, Charles Urbanski, I think is his name. Sorry if I've screwed that up, Charles, but Dreamers Pro, it's a great little podcast channel. It's a sizable podcast channel at this time. I think he's got 205,000 subscribers. Puts out great content. He picked up something that Tracy McGrady said in an interview talking about the National Basketball Association and how difficult it's going to be in 2028 for the American men's basketball team to defend its gold medal. Because he can see the trend, he can see the line. And not to take anything away from Charles or Tracy McGrady, but I've been talking about this for more than a decade. That, hey, black man, American black man, LeBron James, all of you guys, can you not see you're being replaced? Can't you see it? Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, SGA. Is it Shane Gilgeous-Alexander? Did I get that right? Over in OKC. These are all foreign-born players. When LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant exit, this league is completely dominated by foreign players. Tracy McGrady can see it. I want Dreamers Pro. I'm going to play his clip. He unpacks it, and then I'm going to expound. Play the clip.
What do I think about what Tracy McGrady said? First of all, let's look at some of the top players in the NBA today, right? Let's just go through the list here. You have Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Stephen Curry, SGA, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, LeBron James, Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, James Harden, Victor Wembanyama, Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Paul George, Damian Lillard, and De'Aaron Fox. These are some of the top guys. If I look at this, let me see what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is about 24 of the top players that they have listed here. If you look at the top 5 players, they're all foreign, or at least 4 of them. Let's look at the names. Nikola Jokic is the best player in basketball. Then you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, that could be the second best player in basketball. Then you have Luka Doncic, who could be the third best player in basketball. Then you have Joel Embiid, who the season before won the MVP, not this last season, the season prior. And this year he was on pace to lead the league in scoring and he got hurt. And then you have SGA, who a lot of people thought should have been the MVP, right? The only American player that people are looking at, especially kind of now and going into the future in terms of being the best player, is Anthony Edwards. But those other guys that I just named are all better than Anthony Edwards. All of them. Nikola Jokic is better than Anthony Edwards. Luka Doncic is better than Anthony Edwards. This is not up for discussion. Giannis Antetokounmpo is clearly better than Anthony Edwards. Joel Embiid is better than Anthony Edwards. And one can make an argument that SGA is better than that. Hell, they play in the same conference and he had the best team.
Who was Rookie of the Year this year? Victor Wembanyama, the dude from France. I said his name pretty good. I'm actually quite pleased with myself. I think the number 1 pick the year before was another guy from France. This league is being overrun by foreigners. And guess who's on the outside looking in? The American black man. The American-born basketball player. The NBA is being overrun with this globalist agenda. And everybody's good with it. Hey, because it's all people of color. And diversity is our strength. The NBA has, in my lifetime, since 1979-80 when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird showed up. It's never been more irrelevant than it is today. Here in America. Never been more irrelevant. And you know why? Because it's lifeblood, American-born players that we can relate to. It's been drained of it. And no one cares because we're all into globalism because Obama was a global citizen. And people of color, you've all been programmed to hate your American citizenship and anything that disrupts American values. Many of you think, oh, this is great. It hurts the white man. You're throwing away your future, the culture that you built, participated in, the things that help your ancestors and would help your future descendants. You're throwing it away because you've been blinded by your hatred of the American white man. And you think anything that hurts him helps you, you idiot. Your American citizenship is what you should value. And protecting that is what you should value. Because if you don't, you're going to be replaced, and we're watching it happen. I'm going to say something today that will sound crazy. It will sound just as crazy as when 12 or 15 years ago, about 15 years ago, I started telling friends of mine and family, like, hey man, they're going to legalize pedophilia in our lifetime. And when I started saying that 10, 12, 15 years ago, people thought I was insane. When I say it now, people are like, damn, they are going to do that. And they're calling them minor attracted people. I'm going to say something just as stupid. In our lifetime, and buckle up, grab your seats. This is just as crazy as what I said 15 years ago. The WNBA is going to surpass the NBA in relevance here in America. I give it, I think we're 5 to 7 years away from the WNBA being on equal footing or surpassing the NBA in terms of relevance here in America. We're all going to be worshiping female basketball players. You're uncomfortable now with the way I'm all into Caitlin Clark. I'm uncomfortable with it, but I can't help it. I can't help it. I'm all into Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. And you know why? Because Caitlin Clark seems to share my values. She doesn't hate America. She seems quite pleased with herself from being from Middle America in Iowa. Got a boyfriend, seems heterosexual, doesn't seem to hate men. And she's an underdog story. I love her. And what she's done is made me like, oh, well, dang, I like Kelsey Mitchell too. And man, I like Aaliyah Boston. And you know what? This Asia Wilson is a hell of a player. I kind of like her too. And so I'm looking for American-born stars that are relatable to me, and they're in the WNBA. And I don't, them missing layups doesn't bother me anymore. Because I can relate to the player. Oh, yeah, that looks like a girl from my neighborhood, or that I grew up with, or hey, that girl goes to my mama's church, or blah, blah, blah. Caitlin Clark's Christian, went to a Catholic school. All the interesting people, basketball players, American-born, are going to be in the WNBA. And so that's where our attention is going to go. Why do I say this? Because I've seen it before. I saw it happen in real time. I'm from Indianapolis. Grew up a hardcore Indy 500 open wheel Indy car racing fan. Everybody in the 70s, when I was growing up as a little kid, everybody in Indianapolis loved the Indy 500. Didn't matter what color you were, everybody loved the Indy 500. I can remember my mother worked at Western Electric, and they'd run some huge pool where, there's 33 starting spots in the Indy 500, and they'd run some pool where everybody put up $100 or whatever, and you buy a spot on the Indy grid. You get the 17th pole, 17th person, qualifying person, or 15th or 5th, blah, blah, blah. And you could maybe win $2,000 if the square you pulled and the number you pulled, if that driver won. This was a huge deal. And we threw parties Memorial Weekend, and everybody paid attention to the Indy 500. And it didn't matter that Al Unser and Tom Sneva and A.J. Foyt and Johnny Rutherford, Rick Mears, Bobby Unser. I already say him. Yeah, no, I said Al Unser. There was all these Unser boys. Gordon Johncock. These were all good old boy, white boy, rednecks, whatever. We loved them. Everybody. Because, again, everybody loved them. They were American boys. We paid attention to the race. It was a big deal. And then in the late 80s, early 1990s, maybe mid 80s, early 1990s, the next thing you know, everybody at the top of the Indy 500, all the top drivers, and they all had these funny names that we couldn't pronounce. IndyCar racing, which is an international sport, open wheel racing is an international sport. And all these international drivers started showing up at the Indy 500 and started dominating. And there was a guy that owned the Indianapolis Motor Speedway named Tony George, who could feel like he's sitting there in Indianapolis, and Indy racing fans are kind of like, hey man, what happened? Where's A.J. Foyt? Where are these rednecks that used to drive here? We like them. Who are all these guys driving that, we can't pronounce their name? And people were dissatisfied and started complaining. And Tony George is like, you know what? You're right. We've elevated the cost of this thing to the point where the guys, the white dudes that grew up on the wrong side of the tracks that rode little dirt bikes and raced on these little hillbilly circuits or whatever, they can't build their way up and make it to the Indy 500. And we've lost our pipeline of American-born race car drivers. And our fans don't like it, and they don't want these guys from all over the world coming in here. They can't pronounce their names. They can't relate to them. They don't know their backstory. And so Tony George went to war with CART. That was the other organization. That was the main organization. Tony George owned the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the biggest race in open wheel racing and in IndyCar racing. It was run by CART. That was the league. Tony George had the biggest event. He had no influence over CART. He couldn't get them to change up the rules or the way things were operating to make it easier for American-born drivers to make it to the Indy 500. And so he started his own league. And so the analogy would be, let's say someone owned an NFL stadium where for 50, 60, 70 years, they played the Super Bowl at this one stadium. And this guy owned it. And the Super Bowl was the biggest deal. It was bigger than anything else that went on in football. And the guy that owned that game, the Super Bowl, had no influence over the league. And he said, you know what? I'm going to take my game, the Super Bowl, I'm going to take it away from you all, and I'm going to build a league around my Super Bowl event. That's what Tony George did, trying to defend and make a way for American-born drivers to participate in the biggest event in auto racing, the greatest spectacle in racing. So he split with CART. Open wheel racing had this globalism fight in the early 90s. I think either 94 or 96 is when the split happened. And IndyCar racing, Indy 500, for the first couple, 2 or 3 years was fine. And then it went into the toilet. CART and all its international drivers and people started losing interest in the Indy 500. Next thing you know, NASCAR says, hey, we'll do a Brickyard 400. They did this in the early, mid-1990s. We'll do the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And NASCAR still had a bunch of, and still does, a bunch of big-name American-born drivers. And the next thing you know, the Brickyard 400 in the late 90s, early 2000s, it becomes a bigger deal than the Indy 500. And open wheel racing just kept going in the toilet, and NASCAR, with all of its American-born drivers, kept ascending. And the next thing you know, they're talking about kiss the bricks at the Brickyard 400. They'd win the Brickyard 400, get out of their car, and they'd kiss the finish line. They call it kissing the bricks. The biggest thing that used to happen at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway was the guy would win the race and he'd drink milk at the end. Well, kiss the bricks became the big deal. This went on for about a decade. NASCAR ascending and eventually dwarfing open wheel racing. People, American people, and there's less of us now because they're flooding our country with illegal immigrants and people from other cultures. But eventually, the people that actually value American citizenship, American tradition, they get frustrated and say, we'll take our business elsewhere. We'll go to the league, even though we like open wheel racing more than we like NASCAR stock car racing, we'll flip over to NASCAR and stock car racing because I know who Tony Stewart is. I know who Dale Earnhardt is. I'd rather watch American rednecks drive cars around in circles than some foreigner that I don't know or care about because I'm an American. Eventually, Indy got its act together, and the Indy 500, I think last year, drew 350,000 people, and it's back on its feet. But it still hasn't caught back up with NASCAR, even though NASCAR has dipped. The Brickyard 400 is not a big deal anymore. It had been a huge deal. I think this past year they drew 70,000 fans at the Brickyard 400 because eventually Indy settled its dispute and Tony George and CART got back together and, you know. But the Indy 500 and our open wheel racing still isn't what it used to be. It used to be the most dominant auto racing sport in America. That title still belongs to NASCAR at this point. That's what we're seeing with the WNBA and the NBA. We will watch something that is inferior to the NBA because I know who Caitlin Clark is. Oh, Asia Wilson? Yeah. Her mama and them grew up around the way. She played at South Carolina, blah, blah, blah. All these and I don't have a problem with Nikola Jokic. I don't know his backstory. I've never been to Serbia or wherever he's from. I don't want to go there. I'd rather watch Steph Curry. Oh, yeah, his daddy played in the NBA. And his mama's one of the finest women you'll ever see in her 50s. Yeah, I know her. But I'd rather watch that. And so I'd rather watch Caitlin Clark, and I'd rather watch Aaliyah Boston, and I'd rather watch American-born women miss layups from 2 feet than I would watch a bunch of foreigners dunk the basketball. I just don't care about them in the same way. I value my American citizenship. Most of us don't. And that's why we're throwing away the future of American-born athletes and basketball players and kids. They're going to be the outsiders in the NBA. Black boys, white boys, they'll be the outsiders. Because we have no understanding that we're being replaced. LeBron James doesn't care. Because if it's obvious to me, it should be obvious to LeBron James. I know he's happy because he's so narcissistic that, hey, I can force my son into the NBA because I'm LeBron James. But what about the little black boys that actually deserve to be in the NBA? What about the little white American boys that actually deserve to be in the NBA? He doesn't care about them. Bronny, it's his son. He cares about. But the rest, LeBron's like, man, I done made $1 billion. What do I care if little black boys after me suffer and don't have the same opportunities that I have because I put them on the world stage. They're now competing against the world. Your kids competing against the world. But they're being educated in a system that's inferior to a lot of these other countries' systems. Our kids are poorly educated. And this is particularly true for kids with dark skin, American-born black kids, poorly educated, not prepared to compete against the world. We're leaving them a hellish future because we don't value American citizenship because we've been programmed and brainwashed into thinking the American white man is our enemy and anything that he set up is evil and no good for us. But wait till these globalists continue to get more and more control. Wait till you see what's left for little black boys, the scraps, as they compete against the world, poorly educated in these American systems that program you. They don't educate you. They don't teach you how to think critically. You're being replaced and you're following people and worshiping people who don't care. We're about to live the woman king experience here in America. And I know some people even, man, quit talking about Caitlin Clark, man. You're just uplifting women. I can't help it. I would love to course correct, but I can't. I like American-born athletes. She's got a great story. She's got a villain in Angel Reese. And she's got my values, or values that I respect. So I'm going to continue to watch the WNBA, and I'm going to continue to root for her, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hall, Nylisa Smith. I'm going to continue to discuss, oh man, Breanna Stewart, she can play. Wow, this is interesting. Asia Wilson, what a baller. I'm going to enjoy that. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I wish I had the discipline. And I'm going to walk away from the NBA. I've watched every Caitlin Clark game, half of Angel Reese's games, other games. I've watched more WNBA this year than I've watched of an NBA regular season in 3 or 4 years. It's already happening to me. LeBron James doesn't care. He doesn't care about leaving the game in a better place for what's coming behind him. He's spitting on the people that built the NBA up into something where he can make 40 and 50 and $60 million a year. They actually cared about building the league up and leaving the league in a better place. These new guys, they're all greedy. I'm good. I made $300 million. I made $400 million. I got me and my family. Damn, what happens to the rest of y'all? This is the great replacement. We're being replaced. And in particular, you black men, us black men, and our children, our seed, being replaced. You will be answering to women and foreigners for the rest of your life, for their life. Young men answering to women and foreigners for the rest of their life. This is so easy to see. Take off your idolatry. Oh, LeBron and these guys and Deion, they wear nice gold chains. And they're cool and they're hip. And I just want to be, they don't care about you. The things I'm talking about are obvious. They know it. They don't care. Literally. I like Charles Barkley. He knows it. How much money has he made? And do you think they will allow him to talk about it? Charles Barkley is a fat kid from Leeds, Alabama. Came from nothing. Great story. Do you think we're making it less likely that there will be another Charles Barkley from Leeds, Alabama? I think we are. No one will say anything about this, even though they know it. They see. They look at the draft. Look at the top of the draft. Look at the players at the top of the league. They're being replaced and no one's saying anything because they think you're too stupid to get it, and maybe you are. NBA, the NFL, all these lesbian women, they're giving coaching jobs and executive positions. Are you, and you're not saying anything about it? You're good with it? Oh, it's diversity, and that's great. And as long as the white man ain't getting a job, I'm good with it. You're cutting your own balls off because you think, oh, if I cut my balls off, it hurts the white man. So let me cut them off. Nah, you idiot. You're walking around without balls. This, as you sit down, and we're getting close to kickoff, and I know everybody's interested in watching Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to wrap this up and conclude it. But just look at what we're doing. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. And so when all these illegal immigrants that are being flooded into our country, being flooded into these poor communities, being put up in hotels, given driver's license, given the right to vote, given cell phones, given EBT cards, they're replacing you because you don't understand the value of American citizenship. It's just, we talked about it yesterday, and I know some of you all, when we go to Tennessee Harmony and it gets super religious or just everything's from a biblical perspective, you got, peace out, I'm good. I don't want to hear about God. But we talked about this yesterday. Broke it all down yesterday about like geography, language, and religion. That's an identity. Skin color is not an identity. Snap out of your hatred, your programming like, oh, it's the white man. I got to do something to frustrate him. Start making alliances based on something real. Religious shared values. Language. Geography. And so as they flood people in that don't speak your language and don't share your religion, don't share your religious values, they flood those people in and replace you, where you have no say-so in the communities you were born into, your ancestors grew up in, as they gentrify, or whatever, foreignify, I'm making up a word, as they replace your religion and your language in your own neighborhood. And you sit there and say, yeah, this is good. The white man's upset. Now I ain't got no job, and my neighbors are in a Venezuelan gang, and they come over here and rape and pillage and make me pay them protection money. This is good. Yeah, they raping my daughter just down the street. And I'm paying him money so they don't rape my other daughter. But this is good because the white man's upset. And anything that erases America, that's good for me. Don't be that retarded. Snap out of it. You're killing yourself. Have I said everything I wanted to say on this? I thought there was a little out of breath. Oh, I do want to make one other just small point to my, because I know many Whitlock saying the WNBA is going to be more popular in America than the NBA. I want you to think about this, and this speaks to the entitlement, the selfishness, the stupidity, just the way we've treated athletes. I like Anthony Edwards as a player. Love him, like him as a player. Did you see the NBA All-Star game? And it's been going on for a decade. It's hot garbage. It's one of the worst events, if not for the Pro Bowl, which they ended up having to cancel on football. There's nothing worse on sports television than the NBA All-Star game. They don't compete. They don't care. It's a bad, bad look. Did you watch the WNBA All-Star game? It was awesome. And that's not my Caitlin Clark obsession, because she didn't play good in the All-Star game. But it was hyper competitive. And the Arike, can't say her last name, she plays for the Dallas Wings, but she went off and played like Steph Curry Jr. or Damian Lillard on one of his best nights. It was an awesome game. Anybody with a brain would much prefer to watch the WNBA All-Star game than the NBA All-Star game. It's as wide a disparity, it's even wider than the disparity between Caitlin Clark as a basketball player and Angel Reese. It's a better product. They actually compete and care about their league. And they're actually thinking about, hey, let's do this well. Let's grow our game so that other little American girls can come in here and do what Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and make money and blah, blah, blah. They have a vision for what they're trying to accomplish. The empowerment of women and little girls in America. And so they care about the game. And they protect it and play it at a high level. And they're all just at the moment. Now, again, there will be a time when they'll become as spoiled and as entitled and as stupid as the men, but it ain't now. They're in the building stage. And then, hey, let's build a foundation so that other little girls can come in behind us and stand on that foundation. It's us idiot men who have no vision. None. LeBron James hasn't given a single thought to, hey, how can I grow this game and build this game and make sure that other little boys like me? No daddy in the hood can come up in this league. He's not thinking about that anymore. He doesn't care. What he's thinking about is, hey, my son is the seed of a billionaire. How can I build a league where billionaire kids can join the NBA the way Bronny has, undeserved? How can I protect and build that? How can I pass on privilege to my son? Screw all the kids that don't have my wealth privilege, my athletic privilege to give to their kids. It's such a selfish mentality. And the reason why it repulses me is because, and everybody knows what a terrible person I am, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but Lord have mercy, have I made decisions that are not in my best economic interest so that I could sit here and try to protect and provide kids that grew up like me, a little chubby kid in the ghetto. My parents are divorced. My daddy didn't graduate high school. My mother is a factory worker. Me and my brother and mother, we're in a little tiny apartment on Grand Avenue or Grand Boulevard in Indianapolis, 38th. Everybody knows 38th Street in Indianapolis, if you're from Indianapolis. But that's where we started out. And then me and my father in a 400 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment in 1984 on Webster Avenue. Yeah, Webster Avenue right there in the hood. I want to make sure other little kids in that situation could be a little chubby football player with half a brain, and they could live out the American dream. And that's why I sit here and try to argue with you all and try to explain to you all that it's our American citizenship and our shared religious values that should be bringing us together and looking for those people and not get caught up in this skin color deal and in this, hey, let's just blow up the Constitution. Let's just blow up everything. Everything that men built here in America, let's all blow it up because we got a plan to make it better. No, we don't. This globalism is destroying us. We've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, made into fools. And so enjoy your football game tonight, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. But trust me, Lamar Jackson came from nothing. 20 years from now, trust me, it'll be some black billionaire's kid or white billionaire's kid playing quarterback in the flag football league, the emasculated flag football league that they're building. Trust, they're removing the degree of difficulty in football so that the suburban, soft, emasculated kid has an opportunity, and women have an opportunity to play, women or transgender women or whatever they are, so they can play in the National Football League. See, as long as it's really difficult and tough in a game defined by the desperate, now there's a path for kids like me. Now there's a path for kids from the wrong side of the track. Once they finish emasculating the game and making it DEI welcoming, Noah Lyles and all the Roland Martin and all the other closeted, soft as margarine, they'll all be playing football and all making money. And there'll probably be a few female head coaches, and half of the team presidents and general managers will be either women or gays, and you'll be happy. Yeah. No opportunity for me, and I'm sitting around waiting for the government to send me a check, but at least the white man's upset, and that's where my joy comes from. Oh, if I can upset white evangelicals, I'll be so happy. Just send me that government cheese and an EBT card, and I'll sit here knowing, at least the Christian white man, he's upset. This is so awesome. Me in this little 175 square foot apartment and no freedom of speech. Got to sit here and wait for the government to take care of me. This is awesome. Because the white Christian man is upset. That's what brings you joy? I'm going to do a little justice for TT to top this off, and then we can all go watch football. Before we do that, I want to talk to you guys about a Blaze Originals documentary about the scandemic, and it's related to the COVID pandemic. Roll up. It's related to the COVID pandemic. It's about PPP loans and how they've been abused. Our latest Blaze Original is pulling back the curtain on the fraud that went down during the scamdemic. You guys know the scamdemic, how fraudsters cashed in on billions. Not just an expose, it's a wake-up call. Alex Stein and the Blaze Originals team, they dig into PPP loans and showing you exactly how some people gamed the system while you were at home just trying to keep your lights on. It's a shocking expose. You gotta see it. This documentary doesn't just tell the story, it brings it to life. Alex Stein, our whole team, you guys know Alex, no holds bar, in your face guy. They get to the bottom, confronting the fraudsters on the street and asking the questions that we all want answers to, but maybe not the answers you'd expect. You don't want to miss this. So if you want to know more about where your tax dollars are being wasted, then you've got to see our latest Blaze Original. Available right now. Head over to blazeoriginals.com/Whitlock and subscribe for a 7-day trial plus $30 off with a promo code SCAMDEMIC. You'll be angry, you'll be informed, but most of all, you'll be ready to take a stand. Justice for TT, next. Welcome back to Beef. As I walk you through my top 50 media beefs of all time. Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity beefer. It's like, Randy, are you asleep at the wheel? Big lips are in style. I'd love to squash this beef. I mean, I was not real happy at all. I was less than thrilled. I was displeased. And now we have beef.
Why did those certain guys want to test you?
Oh, because I can ball and I talk shit. So, get on the court and it's like, okay, here we go. You think you could take me. Let me show you. And I was the worst kind because I had a J. No.
Oh, perfect way to end the show with a little justice for TT. Did you guys know I had a Justice for TT shirt made? This is awesome. It's me on the Jones Plantation. Can you see this? You guys can see this. Me on the Jones Plantation, Justice for TT. If you haven't seen the movie, The Jones Plantation, you should. Anyway, I got a perfect Justice for TT for us today. Let's check out this Skip Bayless tweet about Caitlin Clark. I just want to read it. Caitlin Clark is the best 22 since Emmitt Smith. Caitlin Clark wears number 22. Emmitt Smith, the great Cowboys running back, wears number 22. And I'm bringing this all up because someone, a little birdie, has told me that the number 22 is actually at the root of Sheryl Swoopes' problem with Caitlin Clark, because Sheryl Swoopes wore number 22. And Sheryl Swoopes, according to my source, thinks Caitlin wearing her number is going to displace Sheryl Swoopes as the greatest number 22 in basketball. Are you kidding me? This is what I've been told. It's speculation. Who knows if it's 100% true? But it makes sense to me. Because nothing else makes sense about what has triggered Sheryl Swoopes to become Caitlin Clark's biggest enemy, biggest detractor. Why is she all in on this? And athletes are really this silly about their numbers. Oh, I just don't feel comfortable in that number. I can't play as well if I'm not in this number or that number. And so Sheryl Swoopes, driven by her obsession with number 22, and Caitlin Clark replacing her as the greatest 22 in women's basketball history, maybe in basketball history. I don't know what man would be the best 22 in men's basketball. I don't know. It doesn't come to mind. Obviously, Jordan's number 23 is big. Obviously, Bill Russell's number 6 is big. Dr. J, I think, wore number 6. Magic wore 32, and I think Larry Bird wore 33. Well, I'm going off the top of my head, and I'm old. Elgin Baylor, I think, may have worn number 22. But anyway, they're saying, there's rumors that is what is driving Sheryl Swoopes' obsession. And so we just want to get Sheryl Swoopes some justice. And maybe we should start a campaign to get Caitlin Clark to switch numbers. And maybe that would get Sheryl Swoopes off her back. So we'll be fighting for justice for TT and Sheryl Swoopes. And that's how we'll wrap today's show. Justice for TT, for Sheryl Swoopes. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be,